Sweetie, can I share with you? You can't be on camera because you're too naked, virtually naked. Can I share with you my thoughts about Anna Karenina, which you are more than smart enough to understand, even though you didn't read that book?
You may.
Okay, now I wouldn't want to say this in conversation to any of my friends because it sounds kind of arrogant, but this is my channel, so I can be arrogant here if I want. These thoughts almost made me cry, so that's not arrogant. Okay, so here's the thing. So I decided to send a video, a 6-second video of me walking with Claudio and Denali as a kind of a hallmark of the channel, you know? It's only 6 seconds, everybody, and here we are. And I didn't realize that by picking out like 25 people I might want to send that to, that I was creating a group. I didn't realize that. So next thing you know, there was a group, and I was like, oh, I was on my BFF Renee's front porch. We're not getting along super well, which, for instance, she's never seen a single one of these, nor has she shown any interest, even in when I have it on the tablet right there in front of her. Like, I did this on her porch, and she wasn't interested. We're just in different places. That's fine. I still love her soul very much. So anyway, okay, so I created that group by accident. And then somebody with the first initial R started acting out, being kind of dark and snarky. He said that something I wrote made it sound like I was suggesting that we would all be better off dead, which is weird because he's pretty smart. And I had, when I read it, thought, oh, when I say when I say I wish for the emancipation of all mankind, that could sound like I wish that we die, you know, because that's, if you're a spiritual person, you might think the only way to be emancipated from the ego and the, you know, the thousand, what is it? The slings and arrows of outrageous fortune and the thousand something that flesh is heir to? Hamlet?
Shocks.
The thousand shocks that flesh is heir to? Thank you. Encyclopedic knowledge of Shakespeare. That's probably why I fell in love with this guy. I remember telling my therapist, I said, he has like an encyclopedic knowledge of Shakespeare. There's no limit to how much I could flirt with a person like that. By the way, you can cut off the beginning and end of one of these videos quite easily. So if I say something you don't like, chop, 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 like happened in the previous take, but we'll just delete that. So anyway, so yeah, so I saw that by saying I wish for the emancipation of all peoples as soon as possible, it could sound like I wish we all die from a spiritualist person perspective. So I said the earthly emancipation, by which I meant we stay on earth as living beings, embodied beings, and we're emancipated. But I also kind of sort of vaguely knew that that could backfire because could sound like emancipation from earthliness. And that's what R seized on because he's been kind of weird lately. And then he said, when you say you wish for the earthly emancipation of all human beings, it sounds like you want us all to die. And I was like, well, as a person with social phobia, I did once have the insight that I would be more comfortable if everybody was dead. And I pictured like a sea of tombstones and I would finally be at home in the world. I thought about how sick that was. And I was like, boyfriend, name omitted, help, make a penis joke. And then you jumped on the line being very chivalrous and made, which I know you think is just between men, but I mean, just use it in the colloquial way, made a penis joke. And then R turned the whole chat into news about the Candor channel, which I had just slapped on there as a title, but this is a pretty good title. Good first instinct, into news about penis. Okay, so,
hey, so I have a question.
This is coming around to Anna Karenina. So one channel.
Good job. Anticipating my question.
Easy peasy. So one channel, one chat group, one messenger chat group, news about the Candor channel. As soon as all this penis activity started, I had to create a splinter group super fast, which I don't remember what we called it at first. Oh, I called it Enneagram shitfuck chat. I was with my mom when I created that. No, I think I don't know what I called it the first time, but eventually I changed the name to at some point there were just too many stupid genitalia jokes, mostly about penises, and I had to move every. No, yeah, I was at my mom's. No, right, this whole thing. I know I was at my house and she was visiting me, so I was on Renee's porch. That's when I created news about the Candor channel. The next day, Ryan got weird, and my mom was with me because, of course, I have to see the BFF because she hasn't seen me enough, and I haven't bought her dinner often enough. And then I had to see the mom, and I don't get a break. My friend who's a 3, he's just like, everybody go away. I'm going to do my laundry. I'm going to do my errands. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to back everything up to the terabyte, and everybody go away. I try to tell people to go away, and they're like, but I need you to take me to the vet. Okay, after I take you to the vet, everybody needs to leave me alone. But I need you to take me grocery shopping. After I take you grocery shopping. But I want you to come with me to your kayak. Okay, after. I never get a minute to myself. I mean, I spend a lot of time alone, but there's always, the next, the next, the next. Okay. So news about the Candor channel turned into shit fuck chat, which turned into the Berry Silly channel, which turned into the Fairy Berry channel. For a while, it was earnest and informative talk about sex, because the girl whose name starts with R and has another R said something very candid about her sex life and her anatomy. And her sexual anatomy that creates some problems.
Cool.
I love this young. Those of us who are childless by choice, it doesn't mean we don't love younger people. If you're like 20 years younger than me, male or female, I want to protect you so much, and I will tend to put you on a pedestal. But then if you fall off the pedestal, it doesn't mean I don't want to protect you anymore. It just means that I realize you're human. Okay, so yeah, now it's called the Fairy, as in fairies, Berry, as in berries, braying like a drunken angel, because one of my exes, who is actually a 4, probably the only 4, once wrote about a singer in a cafe that she was braying like a drunken angel. You could write that well. You could write that well.
Well, I'm not a 4.
You have a massive 4 fix.
Yeah.
You have such a big personality that you might as well be a 4.
What's his name was telling me that yesterday?
Damien?
Yeah.
Damien, my dude. Oh, that's one of my New Year's resolutions, to say my dude more, and I haven't been doing it because we got rear-ended by that psycho. You know that psycho with the ripped t-shirt who rear-ended us? You almost punched him in the fucking face. You guys kind of like did 180, and I could see you out of the back window, and your face was beet red, and you would have punched him in the face if Mr. Same first initial as me hadn't pulled you away. And that's why we almost started hitting each other afterwards and pushed each other's shoulder. And now we both have compounded injuries on our shoulder. It was a whole thing. It was crazy. Asshole rear-ended us and then got out of the car, and it was like, oh, I'm serious. He was on meth or some shit. That dude was freaking crazy. So anyway, okay, so news about the Candor channel became news about the Candor channel / fairy berry braying like a drunken angel. And somewhere along the line, I was thinking about all the chat made me feel kind of erudite, and I told an anecdote about how a lady named Olga said that I was very kind to the peoples, which is what, like if you're a good trophy wife and who is actually substantive, you're kind to the fans of your spouse, your husband. And so she was like, you're very, yeah, he's a big fan of the trophy wives.
Trophy wives?
He wants one.
Tight.
Trophy wives are tight. We're in love now with Ryan George. You're not naked from the neck up. You want to get your cheek in here? No? You're in one of the videos that I was promoting today. You're so cute. You're all purple and green, blue. Okay, so yeah, like there's just like low bargain basement trophy wife, and all she is like she's got long fingernails and lots of makeup and like a small nose or something, which I certainly don't have. And then it gets higher and higher and higher till it's like the highest is like she actually writes the books and you just put your name on them. Now that really happened. Sylvia Plath's mother was a writer, and her husband was an expert on bees, and he couldn't write much, or he didn't have time, or it just wasn't his thing. So she wrote his books and he put his name on them. But it was his research. But no, like in the movie Blue, Juliette Binoche straight up writes those symphonies, and her husband just puts his name on them. And then after Juliette, you know who Juliette Binoche is. You're as much of an art house douche as I am.
I don't
Own it.
I don't know.
In the words of Harley
the
Quinn, you gotta
name
own that shit.
of
You know who Juliette
Juliet.
Binoche is? The fucking English Patient, dude.
I never saw
My
that movie.
dude. My dude, you did.
I did
Everybody
not
sat in the
see
theater
the
and
no.
suffered through. They fuck in a bathtub. He's like disfigured. What was I thinking downstairs? Something kind of very millennial. I was thinking, yeah, I think and talk now in the words of not my generation, but the generation that's just starting to run the world. And it's probably the same kind of vernacular that their younger siblings and kids, the older millennials, are going to
The
talk.
English Patient is gone.
Yeah, everybody suffered through the English Patient. Ray Fiennes finally broke out as a sex symbol. Oh, okay.
I don't know who Ray
You
Fiennes is.
you were drunk.
Is he hot?
He is in the English Patient. Okay, so
Well, I did see.
long story short, I'm running 4 messenger chat groups, and it's basically like there's the guys who are obsessed with flirting with me, and that's fine because they're my bread and butter, and I like them. They're nice people. There's the guys who are like, well, I've got other things to do, but I could flirt with you. Oh, you're really not? No, I had this lovely conversation with this guy who's left most of the groups, but he was like, fuck, I'm not in the mood for this. Banking, I got no fucking money because the fucking bank took it. And I was like, oh, yeah, me too. I loaned somebody $400 and now I can't pay for a therapy session I got a week before Thanksgiving. And he's like, wow, oh shit. And I'm like, oh snap, we can't pay for shit. And then he was like, it's not like I can get a date, so I guess I'll just talk silly with you. And I was like, you can get a date. I once went on a date with a homeless guy. We didn't hit it off, but I would have. My mom dated a homeless guy for like 8 months of like misery of my life because I had to like sleep on the ground with him and shit. Anyway, and then I came up with what I thought was a brilliant idea. If you have no money, like not destitute, but like very little money, you're seriously broke, buy an apple or the fruit of his or her choice. Invite your sweetheart. Be charming. Be nice because you don't have any money, so you can't. Actually, nice is all the better people like nice. Be charming. Be nice. Offer a piece of fruit, and like Owen Wilson in all those movies, so like the Wedding Crashers, just say, I want to go for a walk. And he was like, I fucking hate Owen Wilson. And I was like, that's fine. And then he was like, well, as charmless as he is, that's how charming you are. And I thought he was talking about you, and I was like, who's charmless? And then he was like, Owen Wilson. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I think he's really charming and affable. But I said, but he's affable though. And he was like, what's affable? And I was like, affable. So yeah, I have to basically throw out dirty genitalia jokes on this one channel. And then the Olga channel, it's more medium brow. And then I just had some deep thoughts because we had a big conversation about the Enneagram versus the Great Tradition versus my beloved's favorite spiritual teacher, who he doesn't want me to name. There's some A's and D's in there. I already did. That's how we started that channel. That's okay. Just stop being so moody. I'm not doing it, am I?
I'm not moody. I'm just telling you, you know.
Is he moody? Do I suffer?
Yeah.
I suffer greatly. I won't even tell you. It would, your spine would tingle or whatever they say. It would raise the hairs on the back of your neck if you knew how much I suffer. So anyway, so now there's like 4 messenger chat groups. At least 2 of them were made by accident. And when I'm and they wouldn't exist if I didn't throw some stuff in there, if I didn't have stuff to say. People just respond to me, which is kind of humiliating because it makes me feel like I'm so needy that I keep generating conversation with 2 or 3 or maybe 4 or maybe 6 or maybe 8 people, most of whom don't really respond. They just read. And then if I say, hi, so-and-so, they go, oh, hi, and but no, it's just enough to make it not abjectly humiliating. It's just enough response. Even though clearly some of them are probably going, oh, that guy's just like, he's like in love with her. That's lame, I mean, anybody could run a chat group if you just find 3 guys who are in love with you. Thank you, honey. And oh my God, I mean, I respect all of you so much, and I respect, I just said what I said. Okay, so as I was in the Uber and I was thinking about, yeah, it's kind of hard work to be like, because you're like my girl and you're like 30 years younger than me and I just am so on your side, and you're my girl and you're having a really hard time, and I respect that, and that's like serious. And oh, you're my guy, and you're kind of really competent, and oh, you're my guy, and you're having a really hard time. And like this guy the other day, he was like, well, I just lack confidence, but I'm like really confident in the bedroom. And I'm like, so you're not very dominant in the streets, but you're very dominant in the sheets? Well, if I weren't engaged, I'd ask you on a date right now, which I would normally never say, but he seemed like he had good boundaries. So I said that. But then part of my psyche is going, yeah, you can't make guesses like that. Pardon me, I've been in a lot of pain all day, so dopamine. The faint blue light of the intellect is what Eric Berne called the pleasure of thinking. He seriously underestimated the pleasure of thinking for some guy who did it all day long. So I'm sitting in the Uber and I'm thinking about the kind of social acumen that it takes to do this, which I barely have, but I'm like learning as I go. I'm like my stepdaughter used to throw herself into careers that she wasn't ready for. She threw herself into a career as a computer programmer. She had no training, no education. She was working with people who had degrees, and she like a little, vermin, like a squirrel. She just
Worcestershire sauce.
I love Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah.
If I'm in a place and they serve oysters with like jalapeno ganache and no Worcestershire sauce, like they tend to do at our place, A16, if they're still willing to serve us now that we went there with Mr. J, Mr. JU, because he was like, I don't want to pay for anything, and I want some tomato sauce on the side. Pizzas doesn't have tomato sauce anymore, 50% of them. That's just what we do. Anyway, okay, so I was thinking about that, what that's like being like a woman who's navigating all these different personalities who have to be integrated into a conversation. And I thought, oh, well, that's what Anna Karenina did when she's living with Vronsky, who no is not a bureaucrat, he's a soldier, an count, in Anna Karenina in that phase of the book.
Count?
Yeah, he's a count. Count Vronsky.
We can talk about whether or not a count is a bureaucrat or not.
He is not a bureaucrat in any way, shape, or form. He's a soldier. That's what he does. He soldiers. Yeah. But then when he runs off with Anna, he gives up his occupation altogether, and he has to survive. So he tells his older brother, hey, you know how I gave you all my money? You and your wife and kids? I need some of my money back. And they were like, well, Vronsky, no, they both have the same name, her two men. What is it? Karenin and Vronsky. They have the same first name. It's not Levin. That's the co-protagonist. It's not Nicola. It's not Nikolai. Alexei. Alexei Karenin and Alexei Vronsky.
We're talking about Anna Karenina.
Yeah, we were talking about Anna Karenina.
So I can.
No.
Please.
So her husband is Alexei Karenin.
How am I supposed to follow it?
Use your associative cortex. Her husband, that's what I'm using, is Alexei Karenin, and he is a bureaucrat and about 20 years older than her. Here's the thing. When you marry a man who's 20 or 30 years older than you and wanted to marry you, that's one kind of experience. He got pressured into marrying her. He flirted with her a little too long, and it was perceived as courtship. He was probably a little too socially inept to know that that's what he was doing. And her aunt, I don't know whatever happened to Anne. This would be a great essay title. Who is Anna Karenina's mother? Why does Princess Anna not have a mother? Now her brother Stevia, what's his last name? Stevia. I don't know, but he's a prince, and that means that she was born a princess. Almost everybody in that book is a prince or a princess, but not Karenin.
Stevia?
What? It's not Brett.
Brent.
Brent? No.
Oh.
No. What's Stevia's last name?
Oh, Stevia's his first name.
Yeah.
Oh.
Stevia. What's his last name? His wife's name is Dolly. I don't know.
Is it Russian?
It's very Russian. They're all very Russian. He's a descendant of one of the great Russian families.
So the last name is
He's a descendant of a famous Russian man. He's sitting in a waiting room and he's like, I'm a descendant of Prince blah blah blah. I can't believe I'm waiting. He's mad that he's waiting for a Jewish lawyer to attend to him when he's a descendant of Barishnikov or whatever. That's not. He's a descendant of like cul-de-sac. Okay, so I was thinking about how once this is a 20-minute video. This is like monetizable. Get your shit together. Put on a shirt.
Yeah, well, who's gonna,
Nobody. I know. I'm just kidding.
to watch this video?
Thank you.
No.
You were the one that
No,
I suggested I care about
movie.
money. You know me. I'm congenitally incapable of caring about money until it comes down to survival time. So anyway. So I was thinking about how once she runs away with Count Vronsky and gives up her legitimate life as a wife of a high-level bureaucrat and loses her son in the process, she presides over the table. And there's all these people who are economically dependent on Vronsky and therefore tolerate the fact that he's with a fallen woman, Anna, who's only a fallen. I mean, it's terribly unfair and, I'm sorry, sexist, because he seduced her, he chased her down, and she was actually a very good and happy wife. She was completely.
Is that the press money?
Yeah, she was completely. See, in my neighborhood, this is why it was so heavy to carry the kind of food I bring, because in my neighborhood, this is how they give you pudding in a big old jar. So she was totally like comfortable with the life of a younger wife. She had her son. She wouldn't buy new dresses. She would take her dresses and redo them. She was considered a grande dame, even with her renovated dresses of St. Petersburg society. She preferred the religious types to hang out in those social circles to the demimonde, or no, they're not demimondians. They're part of the court. She wouldn't hang out with the princes and princesses and the countesses, even though she was a princess. She would hang out with the obsessively religious people who are, again, older than her. Anyway, so she ends up presiding over Vronsky's table. And the visitor notices that Vronsky really runs everything in terms of the cook, the staff. He runs the household. And he makes that judgment, or she, I think it's Dolly, I think it's Stevia's wife, Dolly, makes that judgment. I think she refers to him, in the beginning, Anna has to rescue Dolly from seeking a divorce, which would have probably been the best thing for Dolly. And she refers to her as there's some French word for sister-in-law, like my grand sister or something like that. Anyway, is a little bit headstrong. She dismisses the whole thing after having this heartfelt talk like Captain Kirk with Dolly. If I were you, I would forgive as if it had never happened. That didn't really work so well because Stevia kept on. He didn't give up his governess mistress. He just, got her out of the house. And he had assumed that his wife knew he was having sex with a woman because he was like, well, you're all haggard from having 5 of my kids. What did you expect? I'm gorgeous and you're not. Anyway, so Anna runs the conversation at the table, and it makes sense that Dolly wouldn't value that because Dolly is probably a very practical woman and she probably runs the house and the kitchen. But those wives who run the house and the kitchen probably can't do what Anna does, which is, even if it's just a bunch of sort of toadies who are economically dependent on Vronsky, you have to try to find a way to turn that into a pleasant conversation every evening. And that's got to be hard. And she's able to ask everybody the right questions. And there's one scene where she's a little crude about it, but she probably gets tired of the job after some time. And when the co-protagonist of the novel, the stand-in for Count Tolstoy himself, Lev Tolstoy, when Konstantin Levin arrives, he is one of the young men that she completely charms with her intellect and her soulfulness. So that by morning they're going, wait, did I just spend the evening deep in conversation with a fallen woman? How can I explain this to my wife? This is shameful. But at the time, they're completely charmed by her. Completely charmed. So I was thinking what a skill that is. And it's a very traditionally female skill. And you can be like Dolly and you can go, oh, well, Vronsky really runs the house. But Anna runs the house on a different level,
Sure.
And then I was thinking, she makes their lives legitimate by making it so that if you come there, you are so charmed by her that you think that this is a legitimate way to be, even if in the morning it's like a hangover and you think, no, 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 only, marriage in the church of the Russian Orthodox Church under the auspices of God can work, which is clearly what Tolstoy couldn't wrap his head around. He told his wife he was going to create a novel that would redeem the fallen woman and show that it wasn't her fault, and then he had to punish her. He couldn't wrap his head around it, even though in the end he kind of merged with Anna, is what the new translator, Richard Prévert, who he and his wife have an amazingly innovative form of translating. That's actually what I was going to do before Claude offered to leave me half of the house. I was going to be either do relaxation video tapes back before there were videos or YouTube, or a really innovative form of translating out of Spanish novels, which you wouldn't have to be fluently in Spanish to do because you would just be completely literal. That's what they do. She speaks Russian and she just makes a completely literal translation, and then into English, and then he reads it and it's completely idiomatic, and he makes it idiomatic. And now he's learning to speak Russian, so he can do the whole deal. And he wrote this beautiful essay at the beginning of Anna Karenina. Their translation is the bomb. It just knocks that other Victorian thing out of the water. Okay, so I was thinking about how what she does makes their lives legitimate, almost. But she can't make their lives legitimate because Russian society will never accept them. There's this one evening of if she had just stayed home and let him be out, run around with some princess socializing and not be jealous and stayed home, everything would have been okay. But she was too agitated. She couldn't handle it. It was too upsetting knowing he was free to run around with a princess in public and she has to stay home. She can never show her face in polite society anymore. So she went out into polite society, and at that point she became not a genteel fallen woman, but a scandalously fallen woman. And so, spoilers.
Anna Karenina spoiled.
No, so Anna has to end up under the train. Anna has to jump under the train. Because she's created a life for herself with Vronsky, where, yes, he admired her beauty, but he had admired it so many times. And he was so tired of her jealousy, and it was so hard knowing that she could never leave the house, and he could leave the house anytime he wanted. And that was all because he pursued her so hotly until he got her into bed. And Tolstoy describes it as like comforting her afterwards, after her committing the sin of adultery, was like hiding the body of the person you just murdered, even though they were all so madly in love with each other. She didn't want to admit that. He said something like, "For this happiness, there's nothing I wouldn't do." And she said, "Happiness? What happiness?" But deep inside, in a way that she didn't want to admit, she was profoundly happy. There's an amazing moment where she tells Vronsky that she's pregnant. He just visits whenever he wants, and the whole household is like, "Who is this dude who visits every day?" And her son's like, "Mommy, who's Count Vronsky? I don't quite get it," but he doesn't say it out loud. And she tells him she's pregnant, and he's like, "Oh, okay, well, we've never considered our relations a game because it's starting to get really serious." And his mother's like, "Why didn't you just go to bed with a beautiful grande dame? Why are you all serious? This is pathetic." Anyway, and he's like, "Okay, we'll work this out." And then he walks away, and then he comes back, and he grabs her wrists, and he says, "When?" And she says, "Tonight." That's how sensual Tolstoy's writing is. Like if you Francine Prose compares Tolstoy's writing to that lady you like, and so do I, kind of, Sense and Sensibility lady. You know who that is. Jane Austen. Jane Austen describes a ball, and it's all up in the head. Tolstoy describes a ball, and it's all in the heart and the body. It's all about Anna mirroring Vronsky and Vronsky mirroring Anna, and in that moment, he seduces her. The first time she met him, she threw him a lively ball of coquetry, which he caught in midair, but it was nothing to her. Coquetry.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah?
I don't think you can see this one coming.
Yeah?
Okay. Can you with that smile on your face?
No. I'm wondering what you're going to do to me on camera.
Ballroom. Okay, we had Jane Austen's ballroom.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had...
Well, these are generally private homes, but okay.
What was the other one?
Tolstoy, who we've been talking about this whole time.
Ballroom.
Private home again, yes. Okay. Big as a ballroom. Rich people.
Disney's ballroom.
I seriously don't give a shit. Thank you for making me remember. I know that some of you love like the animated Beauty and the Beast, just not into it.
Hold on.
I'm not into the new. I'm even less into the new. Well, I can look
I'm
at the
thinking
new the live action Beauty and the Beast is better to look at, but it's stupid. Yeah.
Cinderella.
Oh, I love Cinderella. I am Cinderella. See all these cinders all
Okay,
over?
now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she goes to the ball.
She goes to
That's
that
the
ball.
that's the palace. That's the prince's home.
That's the prince's home.
Yep.
And then also the ballroom.
There's my creme brulee. Hey, you just made my glasses fall off my hands.
I think
Mm-hmm.
this is from a conversation when I was a child.
Aw.
So
You were a
this
child.
might not be accurate.
Yeah.
Somebody fact check me on this.
Pineapple lemonade. Yes, I'm ready to fact check
But
you.
Walt Disney
This phone is gonna die.
died
In a
right
ballroom
before
Uh-huh.
the production of that ballroom scene.
In Cinderella.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. He sounds like a trippy guy. Ryan Gosling kind of idolizes him. Yeah. He was a Musketeer, as was Britney Spears. They were Musketeers together. Those are facts. Are you gonna eat all the bread pudding? My grandmother's dead, dude. This is my only access to bread pudding. My grandmother made some awesome bread pudding and chicken fricassee.
How can I eat it all when you ask me so nicely not to?
My dude, don't you know? See, I'm making good on my New Year's resolution to say my dude, like Mikey Newman.
So,
I was eating in one of those drunken videos, wasn't I? I made like 8 blacked out videos. That's humiliating. That should be hitting bottom. Well, I won't be drinking brandy again. I should stay away from hard liquor. I'm starting to quantify how much liquor can I have at home and not get in trouble, and how much liquor can I have at home and get in trouble. And then you could just stop drinking, but I'm in a lot of pain lately because that crazy motherfucker who rear-ended us. Fuck him. I'm glad you didn't punch him in the face. He would have gone to jail. So, Walt Disney died just as the Cinderella ballroom scene was being filmed.
Right. So you're saying Tolstoy's ballroom.
Very sensual compared to Jane Austen.
Jane Austen's ballroom.
According to Francine Prose, who illustrates that point very well.
Wasn't there another ballroom scene in Disney before
Beauty and the
Cinderella?
Beast. Oh. Nope. There was Snow White. There was Cinderella. There was Sleeping Beauty. No ballroom. Nope. Nope. Fact check.
Rapunzel?
Nope. No ballroom in Rapunzel.
Rapunzel
I just saw Tangled. Nope. Rapunzel is not Russian. That's Anastasia Romanoff.
How about Rumpelstiltskin?
Rumpelstiltskin is a little. You want to get on camera with me and say goodbye? I'm ready to say goodbye because this is just going to destroy my tablet, which is already massively overburdened. That's why I don't have it.
Probably too long to upload.
No, it's not.
And you know what?
Put your cheek against mine.
Remember when you were saying that someone had given you some unsolicited advice?
No.
About the video.
Oh yeah. That I should focus on 2 or 3 topics. Clearly, I'm never going to do that.
Oh, that's rude.
It's fine. It's just better. The problem is that I said I'm in terrible pain, you guys.
Yeah, but
I have to go.
That's not the point.
And then they gave me unsolicited advice.
That's not the point.
No, this is candor. This is my inner life, which is not centered on 3 subjects.
3 topics.
And then he was like, "I'm not interested in depression, anxiety, or anger management." I was like, "Well, that's what I'm interested in. It's my channel."
The anti-point. What did we call it? Anti-point.
Irrelevant.
Yeah.
This is just me spontaneously sharing my inner life.
That would be
and my outer life.
Contrary to the spirit of the channel.
Thank you, baby.
But I have an unsolicited suggestion.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
Maybe more light?
Yeah, totally. But you know what? The glamour filter will provide more light. See, the thing is, I just have to kind of do it. Because of my 7th fix, I have to do it when I want to do it. You know, I have this, I have a light that I keep, I have one of those emergency lights that I keep near the bed, the same one that we use. Because you get 4 of them when you buy it. They come in a 4-pack of emergency lights. They're actually camping lights. And I used one today. And see, like, this is why I kind of could tell from the beginning that this could work, because Blair Witch Project, it went like 0 production values and people went nuts.
Yeah.
It's working. 206 views is working.
Yeah.
I put myself up on YouTube accidentally being drunk and blacked out. 127 hits, views of one and 86 views of the other. And there are actually a few people who say things like, "Nice stuff. I like it. Let's be friends."
Today.
Or deep. My first comment that I got that I noticed was deep. That's the first comment the Candor channel got. Deep. And you said this style of video could catch on. Your voice is fun to listen to, but here it gets better. And you said something like bubbles of thought that interplay or something really beautiful.
Yeah.
You weren't willing to say anything really good until you could like make a sonnet out of it.
Stream of consciousness.
Oh,
that everybody loves.
No, you're a beautiful writer. You know what I said at the beginning when I first joined Enneagram Place that somebody loved? I posted a picture of myself having just trimmed my hair, and one person was like, "Well, this is a group about Enneagram, not hair." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm just letting you guys know what I look like beyond my profile picture. And also, you know, as a 4, I feel creatively enough to. I've been cutting my hair for several years now. I've got the daring to just do it." And somebody said, "Yeah, and that really helps 4s get in their body." And I said, "Well, you have to do something between writing epic poems." And somebody said, "That is the classic 4 joke." 4s have got to find something to do with themselves in between writing epic poems. And if you're a 4 who's Enneagram type 4 Sufi system derived from the poet Rumi, who created the Sufi order of Islam, which is about as similar to Islam probably as the Grateful Dead is to Gershwin. I mean, in other words, not very similar at all. You know, whirling dervish, those are the Sufi. They spin. They spin to yeah, penis.
Penis.
The Candor channel, formerly known as News About Penis. That's the chat group. Because this guy. No, he didn't do that. Mr. R did that. I try to always look good. Where's the creme brulee? The most refined smokable object on Earth is the creme brulee jewel pod.
I've got your creme brulee right
He thinks that
here.
these are being used to condition us to suck on robot penises. I don't think this is porn. Why do people who are looking for porn watch YouTube? Is it like, well, those girls are getting exploited and they're all drug addicted, so I want to watch real women babble about their sex life? Yeah, all I have to say about sex life is if you think you don't like anal sex, give it 20 seconds. And if you still don't like it, then you probably don't. But if after 20 seconds it's like awesome, then you do. Now, you know, Mrs. My other BFF besides you said, I said something like, I don't know, I asked her some question and she said, because I was just starting to experience what happens after those 20 seconds. And she said, well, like at the best, it's like an orgasm in your ass. Oh my gosh. And one time she was all, he hadn't even done anal that many times before we were together. He's so like the Gary Cooper of the punk rock scene. Why are you giving me a look of disapproval? She does not watch these videos, nor am I using any names.
I'm not giving any look of disapproval.
You're just tired. You put a shirt on.
I put a shirt on because...
Is it because you want to be on camera?
You know,
ooh,
it's better.
Sexy collarbone.
Have a shirt on when you're in the...
Public eye.
When you're in the...
Okay. See, it's so hard for me to angle the camera so that I look good. Now I have to angle the camera. I should.
See, but I thought you looked great.
You look so.
Yeah, I look like an old man.
No.
I look like an old fat man.
No. If you could see those little like dark circles under the eyes the way I see them, with like, you know, because your eyeball adjusts to every square inch of what you're looking at, or and smaller than that. And the camera can't. That's why your eyes see something very different.
Yes, but science has proven.
He got a PhD in mechanical engineering because he wanted to escape being an artist. The science proven.
You know, it's a known fact.
40 minutes. You can't email something that's more than 40 minutes on audio.
I've also been watching Cheers and trying to channel Tolstoy.
Goodbye. We will not be talking about Cliff Clavin on my channel. I draw the line.
Hold on.
But you thought I was kind of like Diane, and that's why you followed me around like a puppy.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.
No, it's a proven fact
What's
that
it
when
proven?
you look at yourself in the mirror,
You don't like what you
then
see.
you pretend
Yeah.
that you're actually 15 times better looking than you actually are.
15 times?
Yes.
People make a funny face when they look in the mirror. My mother does it. She goes,
When you look at your boyfriend or your girlfriend,
mm-hmm.
you imagine them to be like 15 times more beautiful than they actually are.
You mean like when Anakin says, you look so beautiful, and Padme says, it's only because I'm so in love, and he says, no, it's only because I'm so in love? Is that slightly insulting, as if she's not objectively beautiful? And that scene, she's got bad hair. You know what? Anakin doesn't like sand. Get over it. He was a 15-year-old boy trying to figure out what to say to a goddess. I think the prequels kind of work. Kind of, CGI. If you're Harrison Ford, you're like, hey, George Lucas, brand new novice director. I won't say these words, not at all. And then he does some kind of crazy ass Christmas special that you can only watch while on LSD. But if you're little Hayden Christensen, you don't. Actually, Hayden Christensen did deep work to try and understand what it would be like to be as profoundly repressed as Anakin was.
See, nobody
And that's
gonna
what we
watch
see.
this for 40 minutes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but even Ryan Newman.
It's an hour
Ryan
now.
Newman, who is like the most brilliant YouTuber I know, his attentiveness rate is 5 minutes, so that's kind of sucks.
Would you like to see?
We're gonna run out of battery.
Yeah, better upload it.
Yeah, bye. 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 No Cliff C word, Mr. C on this channel. Only Anna Karenina. See, you marry Karenin, you become Karenina. That's informative. That's how they do it in Russia, where everybody's a prince and everybody's a princess, except for the bureaucrats.
And they keep interfering with our damn elections.
Oh yeah, and the counts, because the counts are so sexy and they'll grab your wrists after they impregnate you. Bye.